Breaking news out of Washington, D.C. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case that could unravel charges against hundreds of rioters in the January 6 events, including Donald Trump. The court said that it will consider a challenge on how the crime of obstruction of official proceedings is being used in connection to the events of January 6. Now, to better understand this case before the Supreme Court, we have to go back in time. Those charges of obstruction of official proceedings were officially filed against hundreds of rioters who participated in the January 6th events. But a lower court judge, Carl Nichols, had issued this ruling dismissing the charges against 3 of those rioters specifically, saying that the prosecutor in those cases had used the definition of obstruction of official proceedings in a way that was too broad. According to Judge Nichols in this ruling, corruptly obstructing official proceedings, which carries a fairly hefty sentence of up to 20 years in prison, requires a physical action related to documents, records, or other material objects. And Judge Nichols said that because he pointed out that when that law was being discussed in Congress, then Senator Joe Biden said that the crime of obstruction, that subsection that was being discussed, applied to the crime of shredding documents. Now, at the time, the subsection was being discussed in the context of the Enron scandal, which obviously included the crime of shredding documents. So the prosecutors took that ruling by Nichols and appealed it to the Court of Appeals, saying that his definition, Judge Nichols' definition of obstruction of official proceedings, was too narrow. And the Court of Appeals agreed with the prosecutors and reinstated the charges against those 3 men. So now this Court of Appeals decision has been challenged before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, yes, we'll hear the case, and we will look at the facts and decide whether the definition of obstruction of official proceedings that's being used against this man should be narrowly interpreted to include only the mishandling of documents, or it should have a broader application. But the most important element is that this man is also being charged with the crime of obstruction of official proceedings. So any definition, any interpretation, any decision by the Supreme Court of the United States will undoubtedly also impact the charges levied against him during the January 6 events.